concern, please take a moment, look around, and identify the nearest two exits. Whether in a virtual setting at your home or physically in some form of venue, you must always be ready. So please identify two exits in your current location in the event it is necessary to evacuate quickly and orderly. Also, during this COVID-19 pandemic, please remember to wear your mask, wash your hands, and always stand 6 feet apart from others. Please enjoy the event and continue to be safe.
Greetings and welcome to the day 4 of the Coalition of Staten Island Black-led community-based organizations, Candidates Forum Week. My name is Yolanda Scott, President of Staten Island Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. SIAC will be hosting tonight's forum. We are excited to partner with coalitions of like-minded organizations who want to ensure that all of our members and our communities make an informed decision when electing representatives to office. Our coalition pledges to maintain a balanced opportunity for all candidates to express their views. We are nonpartisan and do not support any political party or candidate. Tonight, we will meet the candidates running for City Council. It is important for you to know that we sent personal invitations to all 33 candidates running for office. Those that appear on the form posted this week accepted our invitation. Those candidates that do not appear did not respond to our invitation. Before I turn things over to our SIAC moderator, Jacqueline Lapardo, Esquire, I want to take a moment to highlight the coalition members and thank each of them for their partnership on this important and historic event. Besides Staten Island Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the coalition includes African Community Alliance of Staten Island, Central Family Life Center, Empowerment Zone Incorporated, Fatherhood Matters, the Harriet Tubman Purple Hat Society Incorporated, Hidden Pearls of Staten Island, Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated, Lambda Kappa Mu Sorority Incorporated, Lambda Chapter, Staten Island National Council of Negro Women Incorporated, Staten Island Black Heritage, Staten Island Branch of the NAACP, Staten Island Liberian Community Association. And thank you to all of the members of these organizations who have joined us tonight. Early voting starts this coming Saturday, and your vote matters. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy. And remember, if you don't vote, you don't count. Jacqueline, please take it away.
Thank you, Madam President, Mrs. Yolanda R. Scott. And welcome everyone to this evening's forum, sponsored by the First Coalition of Staten Island Black-led community-based organizations. I am your moderator for tonight, Jacqueline Lapardo, Esquire, First Vice President of the Staten Island Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Before we get started, we want to share the rules for this evening's forum. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves with an opening statement. Each candidate will then be given 90 seconds to answer the questions posed. Lastly, each candidate will be given 1 minute to make a closing statement. Candidates, please be aware that when 10 seconds remain on your time, I will let you know to please wrap up. For all attendees of tonight's forum, any questions you may have, please place them in the Q&A section. Our time is extremely limited tonight, so we may not be able to get to the questions in this section, but we will do our best to do so. Now that we are all clear on the rules for tonight, we look forward to providing a comprehensive forum featuring the candidates vying to be your next City Council members in the 51st, 50th, and 49th Council districts. I hope tonight is a valuable experience and that all members of the Staten Island community remember to participate in the elections, either during early voting or on November 2nd. To ensure fairness, candidates will speak in the order they arrived at the virtual forum, as well as per council. Our speaking order for the candidates is as follows. We will hear first from Ms. Olivia Johanna Drabsick, candidate for the 51st Council District, followed by Mr. Sal Albanese, candidate for the 50th Council District. And then the candidates for the 49th Council District, which are Ms. Patricia Rondinelli and Mr. Jason R. Price. I now invite Ms. Olivia Johanna Drabsick from the 51st Council District to please give your opening statement.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So my name is Olivia Drabsick. I am so happy to be here. And I appreciate you adding my middle name because that's going to be on the ballot. So Olivia Johanna Drabsick. I am a first-time candidate. I am a special education teacher in now my 10th year, currently working still full-time in the district. I am a single mom to a 3-year-old little boy who has been very excited to be a part of this campaign and tells everyone I'm on the ballot, which is exciting. And I am running to represent the South Shore of Staten Island. So that would be from the New Springville Mall area down all the way to the tip of Tauntonville. And that's the 51st Council District. As an educator, obviously, education is at the top of my priority list. As an educator, I've seen in these last, especially 19 months, a lot of issues that existed already in our schools, exacerbated obviously by the pandemic. And it's important to me that I bring that real world experience into the council to represent the South Shore, in addition to, being a bigger champion for climate, being a better champion for infrastructure in the South Shore, and really just kind of redefining what a city council person's role can be in terms of engaging the community, changing the narrative, and ensuring really just equity in the way that they lead and in the way that they craft their team. So it's very important for me that my staff looks like the district and that everyone in the district feels as if they can come to my office and be treated with compassion and care. And I wish that wasn't a standard that didn't exist already, but it's one of the main reasons why I'm running and the change that I'm hoping to bring to the South Shore of Staten Island.
Thank you, Ms. Drabsick. Okay, so we will now go into our question segment with 90 seconds to answer each question and the same 10 seconds remaining wrap-up notice that I will give. So Ms. Drabsick, should you be elected to office this November, what will be your 3 top legislative priorities and why?
Thank you for the question. As I mentioned, absolutely, climate resiliency is something that I believe, especially from the South Shore and from Staten Island, we know the vulnerability that we face in a lot of these low-lying, areas that are at high risk of flooding. So it's going to be very important to me that I become more aggressive as a representative on the Committee of Resiliency and Waterfronts to take part in citywide 5-borough planning for climate and resiliency and climate adaptation. So bringing more money for infrastructure, sewage, and more green infrastructure like the blue belts and the green belts that are really life-saving, to be honest. In addition, it's going to be important for me to make sure that our streets and the safety of our streets don't just begin and end with speed cameras, that we are talking about sidewalk infrastructure, pedestrians infrastructure, and safe passageway, in addition to improving public transit options in the very transit-starved South Shore. And lastly, really becoming more aggressive and realistic about how we are legislating for our schools. The South Shore is missing from reducing class size legislation, and I would be on that bill. I would be in the Committee of Education, making sure that every school becomes a community school and that UPK 3 and UPK 4 funding is secured and expanded for all families.
Okay, thank you. The next question deals with high incidence of lateness or missed appointments from seniors and other members of the community that utilize Access-a-Ride. Some folks experience issues regarding pickups and drop-offs. There are complaints from Access-a-Ride users who are left stranded or waiting for an alternative means to come home. How would you address and correct this problematic situation?
I think that's a great question. I think in general, our senior groups and senior community members need to be invited into these conversations in a much more aggressive way. We have moved to a digital age, which is obviously good in some ways, but there's a big digital divide. So I think a big part of my office's job is going to be doing very aggressive outreach to homes and by phone to our senior population and really doing audits of these kind of experiences. As I mentioned, the office is supposed to be a quality of life kind of liaison. And so it's going to be important that we're doing outreach to sort of check in on these types of experiences, catch them where they're going so that we can act as advocates for these offices. In addition, I think these are kind of programs that are also pretty much chronically underfunded. And so advocating in the council for safe passageway, safe travel, and increased funding for programs such as this one and others that are publicly subsidized to support seniors more efficiently and effectively.
Great, thank you. So Ms. Drapczyk, for most New Yorkers, the most important thing that their council members do is provide quality constituent services. How would you run your office to serve your community needs? Please give specific examples.
So first, you'd know where my office is. Right now, it's kind of hidden in the South Shore. So it's important for me that I'm picking a spot that is high visibility. We're making sure that we're doing outreach to the community. Something that's important for me is that I'll be running monthly community clinics on really important topics. Right now we would be talking about remote learning, we'd be talking about Hurricane Ida relief. Those would be things that you would expect from my office. My staff, as I mentioned, is something that is very important to me that is going to be more diverse in every way. I think that word is kind of a target, a big buzzword, but in every way, striving for diversity in the staff and making sure that we have sort of community liaisons for the top issues, senior groups, our education groups, and our community coalition kind of leaders. And so they really will own talking with community organizations and local non-for-profits on what the major issues are that are going on with community members and not trying to reinvent the wheel because we have so many fantastic organizations and non-for-profits and community groups doing the work already of outreach. And so making sure that we can kind of have joint efforts. I think that's a place where we can be maximizing on our outreach and engagement.
Thank you.
Examples.
And now with all questions complete, Ms. Drapczyk, please give us your 1-minute closing statement.
So I am not a politician. I, again, am a mother. I am a teacher. I have no skin in the political game. I owe no one any favors. I decided to run because we were in the middle of a pandemic and I was really unhappy with the way I was being represented. And what has happened from there is kind of an upswell of support. We are a fully funded campaign. We are making calls, knocking thousands of doors, and really showing that Staten Island has a political scene to be a part of, that Staten Island that is often forgotten is a part of a greater New York City conversation. And I am in a campaign racing towards one of the first, if not one of, the first female majority council ever. And I think that there's something to be said about that in terms of when we have gender parity, what our legislative bodies can do. So I'm very excited to, have motherhood and being a teacher on my resume and to really lead the South Shore with compassion and care. And I'm really honored to have the chance. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Drapczyk, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I now invite Mr. Sal Albanese from the 50th Council District to give your opening statement. Remember, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement. And when 10 seconds remain, I'll ask you to please wrap up. So we turn it over to you, Mr. Albanese.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting this. I'm Sal Albanese. I'm the Democratic candidate in the 50th District of Staten Island, which is the Mid-Island District. And I am running because I believe the city is going to face some difficult times in the next couple of years, fiscally, public safety-wise, and still recovering from a pandemic. And I believe that with 35 new council members, that I can be a beneficial force on the council, given my background and experience. Some of you may know that I was a school teacher for 11 years. I served on the city council from 82 to 97. I was considered one of the most effective members there. I was rated A+ by a number of columnists. And I ran for mayor a couple of times, ran against Bill de Blasio in 2017. I debated him on television. We didn't have enough money to project citywide and lost that race. But the reason I bring that up is that my experience as an elected official, as I'm an attorney and a finance professional, I've been doing that for the last 24 years, will be a major asset for Staten Island and for the city as a whole. And I just felt I couldn't sit on the sidelines as the city faces some really tough issues going forward. And I hope that obviously the NAACP will provide input as well as we move forward in the next couple of years. I look forward to being in contact with groups like yours to foster public policy.
Thank you. Mr. Albanese, we will now go into our question segment with 90 seconds to answer each question and the same 10 seconds remaining wrap-up notice. So our first question is regarding transportation. Staten Island is a transportation desert, especially in certain areas of the borough. How do you propose to improve our transportation systems, rail as well as buses? In what capacity as a city council member can you bring forth real change to alleviate the borough's transportation woes?
It's a great question. It's one of my main concerns. Transportation on Staten Island is a disaster. Traffic is a constant problem, as I've just pointed out. I think we need more public transit. We need more local connections. We need an express bus service that is cheaper. $6.75 is very expensive for people going into Manhattan to sit in traffic for an hour. I think we have to expand the HOV lane from the Goethals Bridge to the Verrazano, which will move traffic along. But it is important to really connect many of our neighborhoods through local bus routes, and also, we have a fast ferry now on the South Shore, in St. George, but we need fast ferries, I believe, all around the island. But all of the above are important to make the island much more able to move people around and make it an attractive place to live. Rail is also important. The Staten Island Rapid Transit is limited in its scope. I think we need to expand that. And I also want to think big. Why can't we build a subway from Staten Island to Brooklyn and to Manhattan
10 seconds.
Going forward? We have a lot of infrastructure money coming in. So cheaper, more accessible. Transportation is certainly one of my top priorities.
Thank you. This next question piggybacks off of the last one. Mr. Albanese, there are high incidents of lateness or missed appointments from seniors and other members of the community that utilize Access-a-Ride. Some folks experience issues regarding pickups and drop-offs. There are complaints from Access-a-Ride users who are left stranded or waiting for an alternative means to come home. How would you address and correct this problematic situation?
Well, one of the things the city council doesn't do well, and when I was there, I complained about it a lot, is oversight. So over agencies, Access-a-Ride should really be under strict scrutiny by the council, and to find out why this is happening and figure out how to improve it. And if we have to get a new vendor to provide services that are reliable, then that's what we have to do. I don't think the city council has done enough in that area. And I have lots of folks that complain about accessoride all the time. And it's also part of the transportation problem, right? Accessoride is caught up in traffic, which is, rampant on the island. I also want, one of the things I really want to push for is a transportation commissioner. Each borough has a transportation commissioner, somebody with an engineering background and traffic management. We've traditionally put political operatives in charge of transportation in the borough. So all of the above have to be done. Council member, look, if you're a good council member and you can bring attention to issues like that, you can get things done. You can have press conferences if bureaucracies don't cooperate, and I'm well known for that. That's why I was very effective as a member, because even though you can't do something because you're limited in your scope, you can expose it by a good, solid press conference.
Thank you. Our next question is regarding procurement and contracts. Mr. Albanese, how will you improve procurement and contracting? How do we cut waste, and how do we make sure women and minority-owned businesses get a fair shake in the procurement process?
Well, I think we should follow the state. The state has a better ratio of contracting with minority and women business enterprises. The city has not done a good job. It's always talked about it. I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel. The state of New York has done a very good job. We just have to emulate what they do there. Do a lot of outreach to groups like the NAACP, and I mean, obviously there are plenty of women-owned businesses that do good work. I think it's a matter of outreach. It's also a matter of political will. You got to say to yourself, I want 30% of all contracts going to minority women businesses, and work hard to hit that target.
Thank you. We did have a question in our Q&A regarding, and it's along the transportation theme again, regarding the rising prices of the Verrazano Bridge. What is your response and or plan to the rising prices of the toll on the bridge?
I want to cry. The response is that we need a better discount for residents of the island. I think that once again we need better transportation options for folks rather than just driving over the bridge. I testified before the MTA just a couple of weeks ago on the congestion pricing plan that's going to go into effect, where people are going to be charged to go into Manhattan. And I made the argument that Staten Islanders pay the highest tolls in the country, and they should not be double billed by this Manhattan toll. And I asked that they offset the toll that we pay to go over the bridge, so we don't have to pay to go into Manhattan. So that's one area that we're looking at. And obviously it's all about politics at the end of the day too. We got to make sure the governor, whoever the governor is, works closely with us to keep those tolls as low as possible. It's something that's plagued Staten Island for a long time, and I haven't been in office, so I can't be accountable for it. But I will try hard to minimize the damage that the toll causes. My daughter crosses over that bridge every day. She teaches in Brooklyn. She lives on the North Shore, and it's quite expensive. She adds it up every year. She says, "Dad, can you help me? I spent X amount of money this year on tolls and gas." So I'm pretty familiar with it.
Thank you. And now, with all questions complete, Mr. Albanese, please give us your 1-minute closing statement. Well,
first of all, I apologize for being late. I'm usually on time, and it's embarrassing. But I'm happy to have been able to speak to your group. It's an influential group on Staten Island and throughout the country. I would love the endorsement and assistance of the NAACP going forward, and also if I win this election, I will use the organization as a sounding board on issues that are going to be faced in the city council. So thank you for listening, and have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Albanese, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We will now hear opening statements from our 49th district candidates. Remember, you will all have 2 minutes for your opening statement, and when 10 seconds remain, I'll ask you to please wrap up. I now invite Ms. Patricia Rondinelli to give your opening statement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me tonight. I'm glad to be here. I am running as the Republican candidate for the City Council on the North Shore, the 49th District. And I'd like to give people an option when they go out and vote, and is one of the reasons why I ran. I also want to have people stay on the North Shore. I've been walking around the neighborhoods. There's a lot of people who are not happy with what's going on Staten Island and in the city in general. And I think they are looking for a change in leadership. So I decided, really as a civic duty, because I'm not a politician and never ran for office before, that it was time for maybe me to get up there and do something about it. So I decided to run. When I was asked by the Republican Party. I have their endorsement as well as the conservative parties. And I have a 20-year career with the Manhattan Institute for Policy Research. For those of you who are not aware of what the organization does, it's a think tank that leads along the conservative lines. They're very influential with various politicians. They've been in existence almost 30 years now. So I had a 20-year career there. I lived in the North Shore for 30 years. I have 2 sons, both college age, and they both went to public New York City high schools. One went to Curtis High School, he was in the IB program, and one went to McKee High School, and he was in the computer engineering program. So both of them are in college now, and they had very successful careers actually in the New York City public schools. And I think that that's very important to make sure that all students have those opportunities and programs where they can advance to a college level, or if not a college level, to a job, a technical job, plumbing, computers, fixing computers, whatever. And so I'm very interested in education. I'm interested in public safety and the overall, and the overall general quality of life on the North Shore. So that's pretty much what my issues are. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rondinelli. I now invite Mr. Jason Price to please give your opening statement.
My name is Jason Price. I'm running for City Council, 49th District, from Staten Island. I have 2 children, and Staten Island, I've been in Staten Island most of my life, and to make a difference in the communities on the North Shore is the reason why I'm running.
Thank you, Mr. Price. We will now go into our question segment with 90 seconds for the candidates to answer each question, and the same 10 seconds remaining with a wrap-up notice. We are going to start with you, Mr. Price. There are high incidents of lateness or missed appointments from seniors and other members of the community that utilize Access-a-Ride. Some folks experience issues regarding pickups and drop-offs. There are complaints from Access-a-Ride users who are left stranded or waiting for an alternative means to come home. How would you address and correct this problematic situation?
Well, I would most likely have a committee that's held accountable to make sure that the seniors are picked up at a decent time, at their rightful time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Price. Ms. Rondinelli, would you please answer the same question?
Yes, absolutely. Access-a-Ride is something that was personal to me. My mother used it. My mother had a stroke at 49 and was paralyzed on one side and was basically in a motorized wheelchair. And she used Access-a-Ride often to get to doctor's appointments and actually out to Staten Island from Brooklyn to visit me. I think the problem is maybe they had too many pickups for people. So, if you're going from borough to borough, it takes time. There's traffic considerations that come into play. So maybe limiting the amount of rides per accessoride, maybe staying in the borough. And so, I know a lot of people, like I said, my mother came out to Staten Island, so she would come from Brooklyn to Staten Island, but then they would make various pickups along the way. So maybe minimizing the amount of people using the same accessoride bus might help somewhat. But I mean, if you're going to hit traffic, I don't know that that's avoidable really in any way. But maybe fewer people. I think it's a great program, and it really does help people. It helped my mother a lot get to doctor's appointments, and it was. I think she paid. I don't think she paid anything for it. I don't, or if she did, it was a very minimal amount. She was allowed to have an aide or somebody with her. So I think it's a program. It's a good program, and people need the program who are handicapped to get back and forth. But I think limiting the amount of people per ride might help, because there'll be less stops, taking less time for drop-offs, and maybe you know, if they are going to be on time, somehow get in touch with the person and letting them know that there is a delay. Maybe they can, you know, more than likely they won't find an alternate means to get home, but at least letting them know, and so they can make other arrangements. Maybe have, you know, a cup of coffee somewhere, or, you know, make some type of arrangement. And that's what I think about the accessoride. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to stay with you, Ms. Rondinelli, and go to the next question. For most New Yorkers, the most important thing that their council members do is provide quality constituent services. How would you run your office to serve your community needs? Please give specific examples.
Okay. The North Shore is a very large district, and each district has individual, I guess you would say, problems or needs. Some might have flooding, some might have problems with vandalism. You know, there are various needs throughout the communities. I would like to have an office where there is staff that focus on specific communities and just those communities, so that when someone from that community calls to tell, you know, a staff member, the staff member becomes familiar with the people in that specific community, whether it's Port Richmond, Stapleton, Westerly, St. George, and get more on like a personal basis with the community that they will be, you know, coordinating with, so that they are familiar with the people and the problems going on within that, with that small community. I think smaller individual little like units, like something similar like the Build the Block, where you have the NCOs that go to different areas, and they build a rapport with that community, and are able to solve some of the problems and become familiar with what's going on there. So that's kind of the office I'd like to have. And I'd also like to have an open door policy, where people come in and they feel free to come in and let us know what's going on. If they're having a problem, what can we do to help? With me constantly, you know, having meetings with staff to be kept advised, and finding the solutions to solve whatever problems that might come up for individuals or within individual communities. Thank you.
Thank you. And you finished right on time. And I'm going to remain with you and pose this last question to you. And this is from our Q&A section from some of our attendees who are with us tonight. The question is, bipartisan support for many of the challenges facing pandemic recovery is problematic on Staten Island. How will you address these concerns?
I think certainly having the mandates that we have now in place aren't going to help a lot of the businesses here on Staten Island. A lot of these businesses just got up and running again, and it's now become difficult for them to be in business. The pandemic affected everybody, whether it was job loss. I actually lost my own job because of it. It was job loss, businesses, you know, many went under, and many just struggled to stay afloat. There was just so many things. Really, there were some programs that helped people. You know, the stimulus programs helped some people with a little bit of, you know, maintaining their livelihood. But really, to me, now, I don't think we need the mandates. I think we need businesses to start opening, get them flourishing again. I think this is going to be a hindrance. It's going to, if businesses don't flourish, that means people lose jobs because they don't need as many employees, and that affects work related stuff as well. So that's pretty much what I feel about the pandemic, and I have a strong bias towards the mandates. I don't think they should be in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to pose this next question to Mr. Price. Mr. Price, how will you improve procurement and contracting? How do we cut waste, and how do we make sure women and minority-owned businesses get a fair shake in the procurement process?
The agencies have to be accountable for making sure that Black and brown people are afforded the same opportunities as others. It's just being held accountable for, making sure that there's a certain percentage that companies or individuals are supposed to get, and that will be suffice for everybody. Everybody will be happy.
Thank you. Okay, here's another question for you. Mr. Price, should you be elected into office this November, what will be your 3 top legislative priorities and why?
Well, the three priorities are education. It's because the inequities in our schools, with the teachers and the school itself need to have dialogue on what to teach our children and who teaches our children and how they teach our children. The second one is the affordable housing. There's so many developers building affordable housing, but it's only a certain percentage of affordable housing being given to certain individuals. It's not that much affordable housing, and they need to have a higher rate of affordable housing, more than 20-30%. And last but not least is public safety. There's a lot of stuff going on in our streets that needs to stop, especially the crime of gun violence that needs to be addressed alongside of mental health.
Thank you, Mr. Price. We're going to stick with you and give you a question that was posed in our Q&A section. And the question to you is, do you have any ideas or solutions for the traffic nightmare on Staten Island?
Surveys to find alternative ways to reduce the traffic. Maybe putting traffic police in or on the expressway to help out with that traffic.
Thank you, Mr. Price. I'm actually going to pose that very same question now to you, Ms. Rondinelli. Do you have any ideas or solutions for the traffic nightmare on Staten Island?
Well, where I live, we certainly need more left turn signals to help traffic flow a little bit better. So I think implementing some left turn signals on some of the main intersections would help. Their right on red helps a lot. I think traffic flows better at a higher speed limit than 25 miles an hour. I feel like my car isn't even moving sometimes. It doesn't even feel natural. I think it needs to be at least 30 miles an hour. Your car feels like it's going backwards otherwise, especially when you're going up a hill. So I think that would help too. And I think the law needs to be enforced when people are trying to get from McDonald's on Richmond Avenue, 4 lanes over to the other side, and they just do it. And people are like screaming, and they really need to crack down on people breaking the laws. For that, I think cones would help. Like if you put a cone where there's a double yellow line, like somewhere like where Richmond Avenue is, where there's McDonald's, and then you go, it's Forest and Richmond I'm talking about. You have the cones there, so they're not able to do stuff like that. I think that would help a lot too. Smart lights are definitely something that would help. Speed cameras, I don't really agree with. I think that's really just a revenue maker for the city. That might help in school zones during school hours. But really, a lot of left turn signals would help, ease the flow, right turn signals, and increasing the speed limit back to 30 miles an hour and possibly more along intersections like, Highland Boulevard, or where there is a bit more traffic. So those are some things I would want to implement.
Sticking with you, Ms. Rondinelli, should you be elected into office this November, what will be your 3 top legislative priorities and why?
Okay, I think number 1 would definitely be public safety. I think, I think for any quality of life, you have to feel safe in your community. Without safety, you can have, the best schools, the best entertainment, the best house. But if you don't feel safe going outside, then you don't have a quality of life. I also would like to focus on education. I think it's really lacking, particularly in New York City. I think these kids have so much potential. And I think a lot of programs should be added, particularly in the older grades when they're starting to think about careers. And there are some kids who are going to go to college, but there are some who are not. So I think they need some more career and technical programs in these schools. Like I said, my son went to McKee and it was fantastic. So I think we need maybe another school like McKee High School, or at least some programs brought into other public schools here on the North Shore that would give those options to the students. And one thing that I noticed, and I think it's very important with education, is kids who are, developmentally challenged. When they hit the older grades, they don't seem to have very many programs for them. When they're younger, they do have a lot, but then they kind of age out, and these kids are kind of left there,
10 seconds.
just straggling. So those would be 2 of them. And the third is basically quality of life. And to me, quality of life is being happy in your community, safe in your community, good education, parks, recreation, and really an overall good sense of living where you like living where you are. And I want the North Shore to definitely have that kind of community. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, with all questions complete, we will ask our candidates to please give us your 1-minute closing statement. We will begin with you, Mr. Price.
A vote for me is a vote for you. I am on a mission to ensure ordinary people progress for the North Shore.
Thank you. I now invite Ms. Rondinelli to please give your 1-minute closing statement.
Okay. I love the North Shore. I want it to be the best place it can be for all residents that live on it. That's actually the name of my campaign, is Pat Rondinelli North Shore for All. And when I say all, I mean all communities here should have the quality of life that they deserve. We work very hard, and we want to have a nice place to live. And as a councilwoman here on the North Shore, I would make sure that I would do everything possible to make that happen for all residents that live here on Staten Island. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rondinelli. And now I turn it back over to my amazing president of the Staten Island Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Ms. Yolanda R. Scott.
Good evening again, and my name is Yolanda Scott, president of the Staten Island Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. On behalf of the Coalition of Staten Island Black-led community-based organizations, Candidates Forum Week, we thank our candidates for their participation tonight and for their willingness to run for this important office. We wish you good luck. We thank our coalition partners and their prospective members for listening tonight and taking the time to ensure you are informed and civically engaged voter. We also want to thank the tech team for their patience and expertise on hosting every day for the Candidates Forum Week. Please don't forget to tune in tomorrow, Friday, for the discussion on the 5 ballot measures. In closing, we want to remind you to vote because your vote matters. And if you don't vote, you don't count. Until we meet again, good night.